And with us now, we've got the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann, joining us from Perth. Finance Minister Cormann, the negative outlook, what's your reaction to that? The Treasurer seems pretty relaxed about it. Are you?
Confirms is that we've got to continue to live within our means, that when we want to spend more on higher priorities, we've got to pay for it with savings in other parts of the budget, which is, of course, what the government has been doing. And we've got to stay the course. We can't stick our head in the sand. There is obviously a challenge there to be dealt with. And, we've got to keep putting the budget on a stronger foundation for the future. We've got to continue to pursue policies to strengthen economic growth so that we can afford the level of expenditure that we need to incur.
So is there scope then, in that context, for moving further on health, like the freeze on the Medicare rebate? Is there any potential there? Because the Prime Minister said that you've listened to the concerns of the electorate. Does that mean a monetary response as well to this message you've received from the electorate at this election on health?
Well, our plan is reflected in the budget, and as I've just said, I mean, if there's a decision to spend more money on a higher priority area, the way to deal with that is by identifying savings to pay for it. And, if you... that is the discipline that we've imposed on ourselves as a government since we came into government in September 2013. At various times, we've made decisions to increase expenditure, including and in particular in health, where we increased expenditure investment in public hospitals by $2.9 billion in the most recent budget, and we paid for that with savings in other parts of the budget. When we increased funding for access to expensive pharmaceuticals, treatments for cancer in particular, through the Pharmaceutical Benefit Scheme, we paid for that with savings in other parts of the budget. Any decision in the future, if we want to spend more on higher priority areas, we need to find ways to pay for it with savings in other parts of the budget. And, the statement of Standard & Poor's yesterday again confirmed the importance of that fiscal discipline.
What do you say to the critics of your government that this is a reflection on your stewardship, the downgrade?
Well, I mean, let me just say that if we had followed the Labor Party approach, either when we came into government, the one that we inherited, or the one that they took to this last election, we would be in a worse position. I mean, we should never forget that Labor went to this election promising bigger deficits to the tune of about $16.5 billion, higher taxes to the tune of more than $100 billion, and higher debt. And all of those things would have been bad for our AAA credit rating. All of these things would have been bad for investment, the economy and jobs. So, I mean, when we came into government in September 2013, the economy was weakening, unemployment was rising, the budget position was deteriorating. We are in a better position now, but, we've got to continue to work hard to ensure that our economy is as strong as it can be and that people across Australia have the best possible opportunity to get ahead.
Now, Christopher Pyne this morning has said that the election is won with 74 seats locked in, the support of Katter and likely, in his view, a slim majority government. Do you agree with him?
Look, we're quietly confident that we will be able to form a majority government. I mean, that is certainly...
He's not quietly.
Well, I mean, that is certainly the indication that we have from the numbers, the way they're trending. There's 74 seats there that are certain, and then there is, obviously another 2 seats seem to be, based on the trends and the voting so far, seems to be eminently achievable.
But he's not quietly confident. He described you as an election-winning machine. He's loudly confident, as usual.
I'm quietly confident that we will be able to form a majority government.
So, in that sense, what has been seen as quite a difficult and, disaster described by Cory Bernardi, this election campaign, and certainly surprised many in terms of the swing to Labor. Do you feel that now, a few days on, that this has been a success for the coalition, that you've ended up with a majority, most likely?
Well, look, we took the plan to the election that, in our judgment, was the plan that Australia needed. That was the plan that we needed to successfully steer our economy through, the global economic headwinds that we're facing from time to time, and to ensure that we're in the best possible position to put the Australian economy on the strongest possible economic and fiscal foundation for the future. Obviously, if indeed we are able to form a majority government, a win is a win is a win. that will mean that we're in a position to implement our plan for the economy and jobs. And indeed, I mean, in the end, I mean, that is, you know, the objective of any election is
Sure.
that you end up winning a majority of seats, and if we've done so, then you know, to that extent we've been successful. Is it as good a result as we would have liked? No, I mean, clearly not. I mean, I think that all of us have said that, you know, from the Prime Minister down, and there will be a time to reflect and to ensure that we appropriately respond to the learnings and the messages that we received in this election.
Given the Prime Minister hasn't declared or formally declared a win here, is it premature for Christopher Pyne to be saying out there that you're an election-winning machine and you've won the election, given that some seats remain in doubt and you might end up only with 75?
My good friend Christopher is the eternal optimist, and you know, I think that he's just being very optimistic here. And I mean, look, I mean, you know, I'm quietly optimistic too. The truth is that the numbers are very much trending our way, and that you know, anyone who knows anything about the way these things trend would be quietly confident that the coalition will be able to form a majority government. Now,
in terms of moving ahead from this point, you've said it's not as good a result as you'd hoped for. Do you accept now, with the reduced majority, that you'll have to be less ambitious in terms of, for example, your company tax cut plan, that you won't get it all through?
I don't agree that we should be less ambitious. I mean, we always should be as ambitious as possible for Australia's future. And I mean, if we have a majority, then obviously that means that we have a mandate to implement the plan that we took to the last election, and we certainly will be pursuing all of the initiatives that we put forward in the lead up to the election. And you know, obviously it'll be a matter you know, for the Senate to determine, you know, how they respond to the.
And would you look at an option, you know, compromise of, say, tax cuts for businesses with turnovers up to $100 million, for example? I could see Nick Xenophon maybe acceding to that, but not to the multinationals. Is that something that you're open to?
Well, we will put forward the 10-year enterprise tax plan as we laid it out in the election campaign. But you know, obviously we know that we will have to work you know, through these issues with you know, people in the Senate. And I mean, obviously I'm not going to preempt, you know, how these conversations may or may not proceed. But you know, self-evidently there will be an engagement by the government with all senators, and you know, we will try to get as close as possible to you know, the plan that we would like to see implemented for Australia's benefit.
The vacuum since the election day has left a whole heap of commentary around criticisms internally and externally, but has it reopened old wounds? Does the party in its entirety, the parliamentary party, support Malcolm Turnbull as the Prime Minister on an ongoing basis?
Yes, I mean, we are a strong and united team. The party absolutely overwhelmingly supports Malcolm Turnbull. He has the strong and united support of his cabinet. He has got the strong and united support of his ministry, and he has got the overwhelming support in the party room. Now, you know, obviously, you know, after an election like we've just had, it's completely business as usual that there is a level of conversation about what went well, what didn't go so well, what can be done better next time round. I mean, that is just the normal process that would take place after any election, in particular one where the result wasn't as good as we had hoped for.
But Malcolm Turnbull will remain Prime Minister for the next 3 years, in your view?
Absolutely.
Well, Bill Shorten is holding a caucus meeting today. He's got the full support of his party, while you guys have seen public sniping at one another. It's quite a contrast there.
Well, you know, I was watching Anthony Albanese twisting and turning the other day, trying to refuse to rule out running for the leadership, and I see that Bill Shorten is bringing on this caucus meeting while, you know, there's still, you know, Labor, there's still 5 seats where Labor is hoping to be able to get across the line. So either Bill Shorten has given up on those seats or he has deliberately excluded those candidates of his from being part of the deliberations in relation to the leadership of the Labor Party. He clearly has brought this forward because he's trying to stop Anthony Albanese from having a run at the leadership. You know, that's a matter for the Labor Party. But, you know, I think you'll find that it's not all sunshine inside the Labor Party right now.
Finance Minister Matthias Cormann, talk to you soon.
Always good to talk to you.